Okay, I'm going to try this again. I did this for a half an hour a little bit ago, and this portion right here, where I've got my mouse at, buzzing around here, did not show up at all on the video. So, we're going to start with one of the little ornaments. And this one, I've got it over here. Yep. You can't see it, but it says Square Stitch on it. Let me pull it up in here. And this is the one we're going to talk about right now. And this is my banded ornament 2. Now, one of the ladies asked what the difference between Square Stitch and Loom Stitch is. The difference is in the word charts and how it's made. Now, as you can see, this looks like loom. Well, over on the right, it states that it is Square Stitch. But if I move it down to loom and click, there's no difference that you can actually see. Now, Loom and Square Stitch, the difference between them is that one, it's when you're doing it, doing loom, it's on an actual loom. When you're doing Square Stitch, it is not on the loom. You're doing it in your hand. Another thing is this is my layout for this particular ornament or pattern. This text area up here at the top. Now this is the preview of it. Okay. Now I've got 5 pages on here. You don't have to do 5. I just wasn't thinking the day I made it. But I'll show you how I got everything. Now this first text area up here is where I put the pattern title. Now, to get the pattern title, you come in, you click on the little notepad over here, and it'll open this. You right-click, pattern, information, and then name. And that will give you the title of your pattern on your pattern. And then you click save. And then I put mine as color blue. You can use any color you want to in the little palette here. You just use the normal font that they have here, which is Arial. You can change it to anything you want, including your system font, whatever that is. And you can, as far as size, you can go anywhere from size 6 font all the way up to 48. Now, You can also align it. You can align it to the left, to the right, or to the center. Now, even though I've got mine aligned as center, it's not centered on the page itself. It's centered in that box. It's centered in this little box here. The second text area is the pages. It tells you how many pages there is in the document. And to do that, you come in here, you right-click, Document, Page, put a space, the word of, and another space, and then right-click, Document, and then Pages. And that'll give you your page 1 of however many pages you have. And then click Save. This text area has a lot of information in it that I put in here. Now, you don't have to put all this information in here, but I put in here pattern owned by, and then right click, and then go to pattern, author, and name. And then recently, this is what I've been doing. I've been putting of, and I've been putting K&M Crafts, but that's actually being changed again. And then in order to get my Etsy website to show up here, I had to actually type it in. And then the stitch used for this pattern is, and then I put a colon and a space, and it says, and then you right click, pattern, information, and stitch. That'll tell you what stitch was used for this particular pattern. My next line says number of columns, and then you right click, pattern, information, and then come down here to columns. And then I put a space, and then I put by number of rows, and then I right clicked again and clicked pattern, information, rows. And then I also included the pattern width, which again you would come into pattern, but this time you click measurements, and then I did both inches in width and height, and I did both centimeters in width and height. That's these last 2 rows here. And then I clicked Save. Now all that information is this here. Now some of my words did not show in it, but this is what it is. It's telling you square stitch, number of columns and rows, bead count is 208. There's 5 colors used. It's got warp threads on it, but I'm not sure exactly why. But if you notice, the warp threads is empty. That's because it's not loom stitch, it's square stitch. But I don't have that on here, so I don't know why it's actually showing up on the pattern itself. And then, of course, when you get done, you click Save. And then this is the pattern preview. Now, all these little areas all these little boxes, I'm getting from the left-hand side here. Text area boxes up at the top, And pattern preview is this one here. Now, when you click on preview button up here, this is what you're getting of the pattern preview. And then on page 2, which I can actually make this smaller because there's only 5 colors. But this is the bead legend. Color is, I just left it at black. I made the font size as 20, but I left the rest of it all to what was the defaults. And this is what it looks like. This is your preview here. And then this is your graph. And on this one here, see, it says page 1 of 3, but in the one that I'm looking at online there, in the program itself, I've got 5 pages. So I did upgrade this pattern. So these are your 5 colors here. And then this is your bead preview, your pattern preview. And then this page is your graph. And then the third page is your word chart. Now, like I said, on this pattern in Bead Tool, the bead legend is on 1 page. So what I did is I actually changed it so that the bead legend, the preview, and the graph let's see. Sorry, the colors and the preview are on the same page as the front page, as all the information on the first page. So what I actually did is I resized this and added this to that page. And then I resized this where you could actually see it better. And then instead of having just those 2 on one page, I made it so all of it fit on just 1 page. But as you'll see as I'm going through this, now on this, when you're doing square stitch, the main difference between square stitch and loom is that you're doing square stitch off of the loom. There is no loom included with doing square stitch. How can I explain this even better? You're doing it handheld, just like you would do peyote and brick stitch and all that. You're doing square stitch the same way. Now let me see if it changes the word chart here. No, it didn't change the word chart by changing it to loom. So you're still going to get the same thing for loom stitch as you do for square stitch, because it's It's the same pattern. It's just that you do one on the loom and one off the loom. Square stitch, like I said, is handheld. Loom is either on the table or in your lap. Another thing, let's get into, let's see, I think I did these for loom. Yeah. Now these ones are set for loom. And this is the large one. Let me see. Okay, there we go. Now, let's look at the last page here. Yeah, see, you see how it says 2A, 2A, 4A. Yeah, that's the same thing as what you get, even if it was for brick stitch. So, I mean, it, like I said, it just depends on whether you want to use it for the loom or whether you want to do it by hand. And sorry about my video being cockeyed, but for some reason my phone won't sit straight. But that's the main thing that's different between the two of them, is just how it is done. You can use bead tool to make a loom pattern. See, you over on Stitch you can put loom, but then when you're looking at the directions, you can actually do this by hand as a square stitch. Just start at the last row and work your way back up to the top, so that it's easier to do the decreases. And with the way I've got this made, it can actually be done as a 2-drop, because I did this as every 2 rows being decreased. Yeah, and there's only one spot where I see where I only did one single row, but all the rest of them are either 2 or 3 rows. So you can actually do 2 beads at once, 2 rows at once, instead of doing individual rows on this one. And the way I was thinking of doing these, now I've got to make a copy. I've got to try and make one of these so that I can see exactly how it's going to come out. But the way I was thinking of these is that when you're done making one, you make a second one, and then you attach it to this side going up, and then you make a third one and attach it to this side. And then once you get those two attached to the first one, then you attach the second and third one together on the other side, being the back. And in that way, and you're not having to stuff it, because the triangle itself should hopefully be big enough where it will hold its own weight. But like I said, I have to try to do it myself, or try to get somebody to test it to make sure that it actually works. But yeah, like I said, there's really no difference in there's no difference in the patterns as far as Loom and Square Stitch. The only difference is that looms need warp threads and Square Stitch does not. So I hope that explains a little bit easier for you.